This is Figures Sold Separately, episode 203, Matt and the Jessica Tandy Fan Club, July 9th, 2018.
Mattel introduces the Battlestar Galactica collection. You can imagine the Viper launch station against the evil Cylons.
Colonial Viper's ready.
Spaceport open.
Look! Cylon Raiders! Launch for squadron! Missed one. Reset catapult. Viper's on target.
Viper launch station, not for use with other Battlestar Galactica vehicles. You put it together. New from Mattel.
It has been a hot minute since we've done one of these.
It has.
How do you put it? Casting of the pod.
We took a week off.
Yeah, we're like a
week off.
Yeah, we're only like a week behind, I guess.
We took a week off for the 4th.
Yeah. And
we all celebrated in our own way.
Yeah. Ken, how did you celebrate?
Yeah.
So Ken, lots happened since the last time we met.
So I'd like to introduce a new segment we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
It's like Brain Break, but we're just going to start breaking other things.
Like your ankle?
Hey, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If you can
hobbles over here.
If you have the opportunity to run yourself over with your own truck, take a pass.
It's a hard pass.
Take a hard pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't need to figure out what that's like.
A lot of our listeners kind of already know, just because a lot of our listeners are also friends of ours, and I think
at least follow us on social media and stuff, and have not been subtle about it.
And I did mention this on Facebook that we were going to be talking about this. So some people who don't just know the details. Ken, you broke your ankle. Mm-hmm. You are about a little over 12 hours away from going into surgery tomorrow morning. To have a screw put in so it will heal faster, which feels really counterintuitive that you can have surgery. You know, I'm like already feeling like I'm healing, but they're going to put a screw in that's supposed to make it heal way, way faster. So, good. So you are in good spirits about how this happened.
Yeah.
Because now that we know that you're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not okay, but you're okay.
I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah. You'll make a full recovery.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you had said that you were going to be able to run in the Spartan race later in the fall.
Yeah. By the end of the summer, I should be able to run again, which is kind of miraculous.
Hey man, modern technology.
Yeah, it's
well, that's why I'm having the surgery, because it would heal either way. But,
right.
Because we're human beings. We're not if I were a caveman, I would walk and run again. It's not the kind of thing where it has to be operated on. But they said it would be. But they said it would be They said it would be 6 months if I didn't have surgery on it, and closer to 6 weeks if I did have surgery on it. So I was like, that's a no-brainer.
I just the image of you being a caveman and getting run over by a Flintstone-style Jeep.
Yeah. Pretty much that.
With the lift kit and the massive stone tires.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, which is probably a lot of you, Ken owns a large Jeep Wrangler. Is it a Wrangler?
Yeah, it's a Wrangler.
Okay. With big tires.
Right. It's lifted.
Lifted up. So yeah, that Jeep. It's the one you have in your head right now.
Yeah.
So why don't you kind of detail the comic series of events that led to this?
I was driving it out and was pulling up into somebody's driveway, and for work, and I didn't. If you drive stick, you have to put it in gear if you're parking on an incline, and put your parking brake on to keep it from rolling down the hill.
And did you do either of these things?
I did neither of those things.
Okay.
And I got out of the Jeep. Now, I've been driving this. It's not like I'm new to this. I've been driving this Jeep for a decade.
Yeah, it's been a while. For as long as I've known you.
A long time. And I got out of the Jeep and did not set the parking brake, did not any of this. And it was on an incline, and opposite the road that this driveway emptied into was just a drop off. It was just it was like an embankment. So the Jeep started rolling backwards, and I was like, oh my God, it's gonna just cross the road and just go down that embankment. Yeah. And so this being a lifted Jeep, I just reached in with my hand because the pedals are about at hand level. So I just reached in with my hand to try to hit the brake pedal, and I was too slow, and had taken a step forward with my left leg, and that front wheel decided that my left leg had to go, and so it ran over my left leg.
The front wheel did.
The front wheel.
That's the heavy wheel.
Right, rolled over the left leg, and then the car proceeded down the driveway and over the embankment, just like
as if salt in the wound.
Yeah, well,
everything you did absolutely nothing.
It did absolutely nothing. No, and of course, adrenaline flowing and everything. I was not like writhing on the ground. I was up and watching it.
It is amazing that your body can turn off pain when it feels like you need to make some changes.
So it's amazing.
So it went. Being a Jeep, it was equipped to roll down this embankment. When I say roll, I don't mean end over end. I mean it was on.
They do have a tendency to do that,
and it could have, but it would have been significantly damaged if it had done that. But it stayed on its wheels, which is remarkable for a car that's taller than it is wide.
Yes.
But it stayed on its wheels and rolled all the way down this embankment, about 300 feet, and was headed straight towards somebody's house. And I was just like, don't let it hit that house. Because I was like, I could see my Jeep being totaled. I could see it like putting a hole in the side of somebody else's house. Like this was...
But it's rolling in grass, I guess, like a pasture or something?
Right. It's rolling like down an embankment through a field toward a house. And I was, no kids in the yard, thankfully, nothing like that. But it was headed straight for this house, and then at the last moment, it veered to the left and missed the house, and just came to a rolling stop in their yard. Door still open, lights still on.
Was this at night?
It was no, it was during the day. But I generally, I drive with my lights on, kind of regardless.
Okay.
But I had.
Was it running?
No,
was the engine running?
No, it wasn't running. But it was like the fact, and I was just like, oh, thank God, like because it was not. I was like, my Jeep didn't wreck. Like that was my priority. Was first, my Jeep wouldn't wreck. Second, that it wasn't gonna, put a hole in somebody's house. Like obviously that's a big problem.
Yeah.
And my client came running out of the house, and I was like, I think we're gonna have to reschedule our meeting. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And but at the time, like, she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. Because truthfully, like, I didn't know. Now,
that's
bear
what
in
you kept
mind,
telling me on the phone, too.
I had a broken ankle. I had a badly sprained knee. And I had 2 sprained hips. And I don't mean, like, sprained, like, slightly strained. I mean, bad, like, can't walk sprained. But I had so much adrenaline in my system that I was just going. And they were like, well, head out of here. So I asked them, can you give me a ride? Because I was like, I'm not walking so great. Can you give me a ride down to my Jeep? So my client put me in their got in their car, drove me down.
And you're walking at this point.
Yeah, okay. Drove me down into the into the neighbor's driveway. And I got in my Jeep and I drove away. And I was about half an hour from home, and I was covered in cuts and bruises and scrapes. And
this is over in Hendersonville?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I was covered in cuts and bruises and scrapes. And
this is where Carly comes in, yeah.
And I called Carly and I said, I'm coming home. Let's reschedule the rest of my day because I'm toast for the rest of the day. This is what I was thinking. How I was thinking of it at the time. And then, as I was driving home, if you can imagine working a...
No, wait. At what point do you tell Carly that you've run yourself over with your own vehicle?
Immediately.
No, I told her that pretty much right. I did the whole thing where you go like... I'm okay, but here's what's happened.
Yeah.
And I said, I might be hurt, but I don't know. And about halfway home, if you can imagine working a clutch...
yes, because it is a manual, so this is a 2-foot operation.
If this was an automatic transmission, I would never have had a problem because it wouldn't have been rolling down a hill. But I was working a clutch with a broken ankle and a sprained knee. And if you've ever had a break and a sprain, the break takes longer to heal, but the sprain hurts worse. A sprain hurts worse
for
than a break.
This kind of fracture. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was my knee was killing me. And my ankle was not feeling great, and so, but anyway,
it was one
by
of
the time I got home, I was like, I'm not okay.
So you drove yourself home?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I know.
Saved,
it was one
saved
of those
myself
things...
an ambulance ride, so that's good.
Oh my God.
It's like in New York where people are Uber and Lyft have a big problem because people in New York City and San Francisco, places like that, have been calling Ubers and Lyfts to take themselves to the hospital because it's way cheaper.
Oh yeah. No, I'm super hardcore.
Yeah.
I drove myself home, and
it was one of those things where I could tell he was in shock because when I asked him, "Are you hurt?" his response was, "I don't know." So I know that means you're in shock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the second thing, I knew that he was so like the adrenaline was still going, and he was like one track mind, need to get home, and so I knew. Like, okay, I could argue with him and say, let me come pick you up, or we need to call an ambulance or whatever.
Yeah, no, that
but I
wouldn't work.
knew that would have been a losing battle with where his mind was. And so I was like, just get home and then we can
Plus,
deal
an ambulance
with it.
ride is like $3,000. I'm not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, so.
You have health insurance, though. We should say.
Well, yes.
Well, yeah, but not enough that it's going to.
I mean, you're still going to pay a couple
everything.
$100 for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Now, you did then go to the hospital when you got home.
Went to the urgent care because we have a.
You didn't go to the hospital?
Well, we went to an urgent care that has
the one down the street?
That has an X-ray machine. And
Yeah, some urgent cares can, because your deductible on an urgent care is less than a.
Mine's actually the same.
Yeah, so.
Wow, that's great.
So I just ended up going to the emergency room.
Yeah, emergency room's way more. But they, but I mean, super long story short, everybody we've talked to says that I could have been pulled under the wheels. I could have been dragged down the embankment. I could have been, based on what happened to me, like I got off very easy. And I agree, especially considering the Jeep's fine, that the neighbor's house is fine. You know, I and everybody that's talked to me is like, you're like, the fact that your leg wasn't crushed and that your knee isn't broken, and the fact that when I felt the pressure of it, I went down and twisted with the pressure as opposed to letting it go without me. One person has used the phrase like saved your leg, and I was like, I don't know if they mean literally like leg off or if they mean like I would be having like rods put in to like up to my hip, that kind of thing. But either way, I'm glad that's not what's happening.
You also have large tires, which spread out the force.
I guess.
No, that is how that works. Like, so that it was like it was.
I still don't recommend it.
Well, yeah, but it was a larger part of your leg that was bearing the weight of it versus like a specific point.
You're right.
So
when
big.
you think about it, it really wasn't that heavy.
Also, a Jeep is not.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, no, but a Jeep is not as heavy as other vehicles. I mean,
no.
You know,
but you've got to bear in mind too that the kinds of. But that's all offset by the fact that there's a lift kit on it, and each of those tires weighs 200 pounds. You know, so it's like you're not dealing with well, not 200 pounds, but each of those tires probably weighs.
They're heavy.
They weigh 80, 90 pounds a piece. So you know, there's a lot going on there. When that rolled over.
I'm super glad that when you posted it to Facebook that. I was shocked because that came out of nowhere, and it was like what 5 days ago. So it was around July 4th.
It was 1 week ago.
1 week ago,
to the day.
So a couple, like 1 or 2 days before
we were watching Ant-Man and the Wasp when we, you know, at the moment, like Ant-Man and the Wasp today started at the moment that my accident.
Oh
was last week.
You're gonna be doing that for a while. Going,
Yeah.
1 month ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, man, at least I'm glad you're okay.
Thanks.
And you're gonna be on the mend. It's not gonna take very long.
No,
Yeah.
I'll be all right.
The girl I used to date last year, and we're still good friends, and she went through an accident.
Oh my gosh, she was like,
it shattered both of her legs. So you know, it's taken her about 1.5 years to fully recover. And she's not fully recovered, but like she's as recovered as she's going to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really glad that you're going to make a full recovery. And
thanks, man.
Good. Yeah.
It'll be all right.
It's a good story.
I'll
too.
get back. I'll get back to it. It's a pretty good story. I don't run yourself. I mean, I managed to run myself over with my own car. That takes a certain amount of skill, amount of
so much
finesse.
funnier when you say it that way too.
And
we really do need to come up with a better story.
You don't have to try it for yourself. I saw Plucky earlier today, and she said, who used to be one of the casts on who used to be cast on the show, and she told me that.
Did she give you a lot of shit for it?
She told me I need a better story. She says you really need a story where like you broke your ankle like roundhouse kicking. through like a brick wall to save a bunch of kittens
Agreed.
or something.
That's
Yeah,
Flucky.
agreed.
That's totally Flucky.
Something crazy. So, but it's good. Thanks for the good wishes, and I'll come through the surgery okay, and be kicking ass and taking names. Probably playing a few more video games than I usually do.
Yeah, we weren't able to. So usually we record these on Sunday. It's
nice
now
that my hands
Monday.
are okay.
Yeah. Especially
My hands
that
are
right
okay.
one, right?
I can play video games.
Yeah, that's not you can do.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I'm sticking with.
Well, usually we record these on Sunday. We weren't able to yesterday, so we wanted to make sure we get it today on Monday because we want to do it before you went into surgery and you'd be drugged up for the next week. So.
Oh, man, we totally should have recorded an episode like right when he got home from his surgery so he would be like super loopy.
Look, you can record
in severe pain.
You can record an addendum.
No, you're not going to be in severe pain yet. You're just going to be loopy, and we can just be like...
I'm going to be wigged out because I won't be able to feel my leg yet, and that's going to be...
Where are you going for the surgery over to Mission?
No, party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Party at party.
Party.
Yeah. It's just hot nurses as far as the eye can see.
Party for those who don't know.
They're all men.
Party is like the private other hospital in Asheville. It's not it's not the trauma center, the public trauma center. It's like
it's the place you go if the truck that ran you over wasn't particularly heavy.
Oh my God, that's not true. Also, our best friend works at Party, which is kind of nice too. So
well, it's good your insurance will cover Party.
Yeah,
because it tends to be a little bit more expensive. It's just
only the best for my baby.
I know.
Aw.
She hospital.
Well, I'm Ken at Multiverse AVL.
You're crutchy for the rest of the episode. You're
or
crutchy.
hobbles, crutchy hobbles.
Yeah.
Carly saw the
Tiny Tim.
Newsies musical for the first time, so yeah.
Oh my God.
I've not seen that.
We can brain break it, but
okay.
Yeah, we can brain break.
Who are you?
I'm Cartu D2.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, I'm also Cartu.D2.
Yeah, that dot's important.
The dot is
and follow that Insta. There's a lot of baking. There's a lot of baked goods and holistic medicine
and little puppies,
and
little
tiny
Gerties.
Little Gertrudes.
Gertrude, who is a tiny little Chihuahua.
She's a Chihuahua miniature pincher mix, and she's currently
She's got that black and tan miniature.
She does.
She's eating peanut butter cheddar ice cream right now.
Ooh.
She is loving it, but it's really cute because she can only finish half of it at a time before she gets like so cold.
Yeah, she is so tiny.
Her whole body shakes and she like comes over to you and is like, "I'm having so much fun, but I'm dying," and you have to take it away. Like she cannot finish a whole thing.
Peanut butter cheddar.
She'll just
really
keep trying.
Peanut butter
it's
cheddar.
Really cute.
I'm Matt. You can find me on Instagram at NCMattJ828 and on Twitter at NCMattJ. The girl I'm dating, I went over to her house for dinner last night,
and
nice. she made steak and shit. I'm totally blanking.
Steak and shit.
That does not go well with
green,
steak.
The green,
Brussels sprouts, collard greens,
not cauliflower. Why am I not being able?
Broccoli.
Thank you. I literally could not pull the word broccoli out of my fucking head.
Wow.
Yeah, she made broccoli and steaks. So she doesn't have a grill. She pan-seared it. It was really good.
Ooh.
Mine was a little undercooked, so she went back inside because we were going to eat outside.
Yeah.
It was really nice yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
So she went back inside to cook it just a little bit more, and I walked in to talk to her. And she has a little dog. It's like a mixture of it was a rescue, and it's like a little poodle kind of mixed with something else. I mean, but it's like a little
cute.
It's a little puppy. But that dog did not waste any time jumping up onto the table, grabbed her steak, and ran off with it.
Oh, way to go, little dog. We're cheering for you.
And that little dog ate like a 12-ounce steak. I don't know where she put it. But I was just like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
What's this puppy's name?
Penny.
Sorry.
Penny. Good job, Penny.
Yeah.
That's
so I
adorable.
cut mine in half and I gave her half of mine and I ate the other half. So, but it was funny. It was funny.
My God, that's adorable.
So, brain break.
Are we going to brain break?
Yeah, you want to brain break or do you have something else?
No, let's brain break. Let's do it.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Well, first of all, I want to know, Carly, let's play Do you know what Matt's shirt is a reference to? And it's not an airline, so those of you that think Matt always wears airlines.
Yeah, I would have guessed an airline.
What is that? It's the word. What's the word? What is it?
The word is Tandy.
And what does it mean?
Block, like in all capital letters.
Yeah, it's a very specific font. This is their logo font. So
I'm going to go with
this would be interesting.
A security firm in a action movie.
It's not bad. I mean, it's completely wrong, but it's not bad. How old do you have to be to kind of know what Tandy is, I wonder?
Well, I know Jessica Tandy was a hot older actress when we were kids.
Don't think it's spelled the same way.
I think she won an Academy Award at some point.
Is it spelled the same way? Tandy?
Oh, yeah,
How
absolutely.
else would you spell it?
Yeah.
Which
I know you're a massive Jessica Tandy fan, and I
loved Driving Miss Daisy.
I love Driving Miss Daisy.
I went into that movie thinking I was going to hate it. Oh, it's a great movie.
And Fried Green Tomatoes, great movie too.
Yeah.
I
forgot she was in that movie. Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So, I mean, Y2K, I you must be in the Jessica Tandy fan club. That's the only way you can get the shirt.
Wow. I didn't think that it would be something that people don't know, but I guess it's not, because it was such an iconic brand when you and I were young, but then just literally fell off the planet.
Well, but 10 years from now, nobody's going to know what Radio Shack is, and Radio Shack, if you don't know Radio Shack, you ain't going to know Tandy.
That's true. So Tandy was actually the company that ended up buying Radio Shack, and Radio Shack was a subsidiary of Tandy, but what Tandy was, as far as most people was concerned, it was the brand of the computer that was sold by Radio Shack in the 80s and into the early 90s.
Okay.
So, you've heard of the TRS-80, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the TRS-80 kind of was a Radio Shack TRS-80, but the T stood for, I think, Tandy. And then so that morphed into kind of like through the late 80s, Tandy's. So a lot of people will not remember this, but prior to Best Buy being a thing, and Circuit City really being a thing, and in places like Waynesville or Fayetteville, places that would not be big enough to have a Circuit City or a Best Buy even when they even came around.
Okay.
Where you went for electronics was you went to your local Radio Shack.
Yeah.
And so people would go to Radio Shack, hey, I want to get on this computer thing.
Yeah.
And they would buy a Tandy computer. Tandy 1000 is an iconic model. And my friend had one, I had one. Everybody kind of had one.
What you might have noticed if you've ever seen the Steve Jobs biopic that they did, I haven't seen the Fassbender one yet, but the one with Ashton Kutcher. I know that one of the things that they good performance by Ashton Kutcher, by the way, that I didn't know was that the Apple, of course the Apple II is the famous computer, but nobody ever really talks about the Apple, the original, the Apple I. The Apple I,
the wooden one.
The Apple I was a kit that they just took around and sold to Radio Shacks, because at the time a home computer was something, it's almost like a ham radio. Like the idea that you would have a home computer was not a mainstream thing. It was something that, like, if you were the kind of person who had the knowledge to use a computer, you were also the kind of person who had the knowledge to put together the computer.
Right.
And so
it was not a mainstream thing.
You just bought the kit and it came with the boards and everything. And this was sort of the when they turned that corner into everyone sort of owning a personal computer. And you would hook up the there are two things about the TRS-80 that were remarkable that I always think of. One is that it was color. In an era where a lot of screens
later ones, the Coco was
right, but you would hook these up to your TV.
Yeah,
like there was no computer monitor. You would hook them up to your television.
You could get one, but for the most part, that's how people did it.
Yeah, you hook up to your and they weren't super expensive. Like they were kind of on the accessible end.
This was back when an IBM PC around 81 would cost you all in like $2,000. And that's $2,000 in 1981 dollars.
Right. Damn, that's
like $4,500 maybe in today's money.
Well, and technology goes down in cost all the time. Like
economies of scale. Yeah.
I remember when what you pay for a laptop now wouldn't buy you a graphics card.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't still graphics cards out there that run $1,000, but not like they all used to. And everyone listening to this podcast remembers when you could not go to the store and find a PC that was less than $1,000.
Absolutely.
And now they're all less than $1,000 except for like the high-end gaming rigs, which are still like $2,000-$3,000.
We were just talking on Facebook with Janae, who's been on the show a couple times, about she was asking about one of those HP Streams, which are very ultra low end, cheap laptops from HP, and we were talking about Chromebooks.
Oh yeah,
and the high end Chromebook that I have, $250.
$250.
Actually, you can probably find it for about $200 now.
Yeah.
Which is insane when you think about it.
It's like a 50 gig hard drive, because what do you need hard drive space for? Everything's cloud based.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's true.
Of course, we're talking about 50 gig hard drives like that small. There
was a time
10 years ago.
I have a distinct memory of going to Best Buy and having saved up my money to go to Best Buy, and this must have been like 92. So this was in Charlotte, and this was one of the early Best Buys.
Okay.
Because Best Buy was only in larger cities until probably the 2000s, but this was an old school Best Buy, and I bought like a 13 gig hard drive, and I must have paid like $300 for it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's the economies of scale. But anyway, that's what Tandy is. So
okay.
For those of you, go read the Wikipedia article if you want to know more.
Yeah. Manufactured by Motorola.
No, it was made by Tandy, but I think the chip that it used was made by Motorola. So, what does it say?
Tandy computers were manufactured by Motorola.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm cheating off of Wikipedia.
I know they were made in Texas because Radio Shack was based in Fort Worth.
There you go.
Yeah, but I have distinct memories. There was a Radio Shack. So this would have been in the 80s. This would have been maybe the mid 80s, like 84, 85. There was a Radio Shack right down the street from me, and every piece of electronics that we had in our home was Radio Shack. Like the first cordless phone we got was a Radio Shack.
Yeah, us too.
I bet you had a radio controlled car, didn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you lived down the street from Radio Shack,
Yeah.
and like for those of you that are of that generation where you may not have really shopped at Radio Shack a whole lot, about half of the stock of Radio Shack was radio controlled cars.
Yeah, especially around Christmas time when they just took over the store.
And not like good radio controlled cars
No.
either, but like ones that like they would go maybe like they were technically radio controlled cars as long as like you didn't have carpet.
I feel like that's not a good business model to be like
won't work on
mostly
carpet.
radio controlled cars.
So in the 80s, Radio Shack was still a place where you would go to, and this is kind of turning into one of those like, remember when? Because Radio Shack literally died.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, we just did that for TRU.
Toys R Us. So, but like Radio Shack at this time was still the place that you could go and you could buy resistors and transistors and LED bulbs and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And they sold, at Christmas time, they'd sell these like electronic kits where you could build rudimentary computers
Which I
and stuff.
will miss that because I
With
missed
the little springs that you'd put the wires
because you
in.
can go to
Yes.
like Best Buy and Walmart and places like that, but even that is starting to taper off to where we're just going to do all of this stuff online, which is a shame because Radio Shack was always the place where you could go and say, you could go in with like two cables and be like, I need to plug this into this. How do I make that work? And the person
people there knew.
and they
Like,
knew. They
yeah.
could tell you like, well, you're going to want to do that, but it's going to degrade your signal. What you're really going to want to do is this other thing. Now, granted, as technology improves, our need for that skill is maybe tapering off some because everything is turning Bluetooth. Like most of the things that you would have to connect are now.
Eventually a cord will be so obsolete.
My parents are replacing their surround sound system, and right now it is run via fiber optic cable underneath their house. Like somebody had to get in the crawl space, and now it's like, oh man, you just Bluetooth those things. It's no problem.
Well,
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
now we're also in a time now where technology is much more disposable.
Yeah.
Now, if your flat panel television, your LCD or LED backlit television, if that thing goes out, there's nowhere to take it to get it fixed.
Oh, yeah.
You can call around it, and like TV repair shops are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way, like if you're like, oh well, it broke, how do I get it fixed? I see it on Facebook every once in a while. Those little in those Facebook groups, like the buy sell trade. People are like, hey, where do I go to get a flat panel television fixed? And I'm like, yeah, Best Buy and buy a new one. That's what you're going to do. Just throw it in the trash because we have disposable stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
If when your iPad gets bad, you just chuck it and get a new one.
Well, and the decreasing cost of tech, and I know that people thinking like, well, iPads are still like $500-$600, but like really,
they're not anymore. They're like $300 now.
Yeah, like things are getting less expensive, and we're buying more of them. Like it's part of the reason you used to want to fix your computer when it broke was that it was expensive.
Yeah,
and you could fix it for a few $100, and getting a new one was a few $1,000. And the last time my computer broke, I was just like, I'm just going to buy another one.
Yeah, that's what people do. I mean, because by the time it breaks, you probably are going to need a new one anyway. You need to upgrade those things about every 2 years.
You
anyway,
really do.
So.
Pretty much.
But Radio Shack was everything in my home. Our phones, our cordless phones, like actually really our stereos and radios were all realistic brand. They were all real Radio Shack stuff because, my mom didn't know anything about technology, and she trusted the people that worked at the Radio Shack. And so when she needed something like a new cordless phone because one broke, or she needed, a stereo, some component or something, she's like, well, I'll go down to Radio Shack and they'll tell me what to buy. So, yeah.
Cool.
And now we have Best Buy where people literally are, they were flipping burgers.
Nobody
2
there
weeks
knows.
ago.
Yeah, nobody there knows
not
what.
remotely helpful.
Nobody there knows.
I do
what
like
to
Best Buy, but come on, man.
But they're there to sell you stuff, and I don't know if
they're not on commission, so they have no motivation to learn about what they're selling you.
But like that's the thing is, I don't know if you went in there and said I want to plug this into that, they'd probably no.
Why?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you do that?
So anyway,
which is more of a philosophical question, really. Like it's none of your business.
Yeah, don't, because I want to. God damn it!
Like like my dad in 1989 at a Radio Shack, and they're gonna be like, "Why do you want to plug those things in?" That's none of your business. Like
just how do I do it?
How do I do it? Yeah.
I actually worked at a Radio Shack for about
for real.
Wow.
Yeah, for about 4 or 5 months.
You really buried the lead on that one, Matt.
No, I did. It was before 9/11, so it would have been the Christmas leading up to Christmas of 1999.
Okay.
So yeah, cool. I had like 3 jobs. I worked at Radio Shack.
Spend New Year's Eve of 1999 in a Radio Shack.
No,
that's like the saddest story I've ever heard.
I was going to say, like, were you working at Radio Shack while you were worried about Y2K? Because that's such a
Actually, do you want to know where I was?
But I imagine because of Y2K, they were probably leaving Radio Shacks open all night because they were like, if everybody's tech goes down, they're going to go straight to Radio Shack.
Yeah.
No, actually, you want to know where I spent New Year's Eve 1999?
Yeah.
We might as well digress some more.
Might as well. No, I mean it's unique. So at the time I was the assistant engineer for Kiss 95.1 in Charlotte, which is the top 40 radio station in Charlotte. I was given the task of drawing up together the Y2K plan for the radio station. So I had to make sure that everything in the radio station was Y2K compliant, and then I had to come up with a plan of what was going to happen if all hell broke loose.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
And I spent
like writing up copy for the zombie apocalypse.
It kind of felt like that in a lot of ways. So I spent the changeover to the Millennium in a field in Dallas, North Carolina, at our transmitter site, ready.
I think you've told me this story.
Yeah,
before. You may have said it on the air before,
with a couple of other people just like me for WCNC TV, which is the NBC affiliate.
Waiting for Y2K to happen.
Yeah, and Power 98, which is another CBS station. I worked for CBS. And I sat in a field ready to ensure that the generators turned on if the power went out. And I had to put a small, kind of like what we used to podcast here. I had to be able to put a rig together that had a microphone so that I could disseminate information if I had to.
Oh my god!
And then I took a CD player out there and patched it in, and made CDs that were, because this was early. We didn't have like iPads or iPods and stuff.
Yeah.
So I made CDs which could hold about 70 minutes each. I made like 3 of them that had music
to be able to buy those at Radio Shack.
Sweepers and stuff like that in between them, so that if the link to the studio was severed somehow, I could go on the air straight from the transmitter site, plug directly into the transmitter,
and just loop some music,
and loop some music, and then make some announcements if I had to, and whatever. So, and we knew nothing was going to happen. I mean, anybody who doing that,
that's still a pretty cool story.
It is, but in doing that project, I knew that nothing was going to happen. Like even yeah. So it was just a precautionary thing that CBS made us do. But I got paid overtime to sit in a field, and we brought out like one of those little they're like fake fire pits that you plug some propane, because it was cold as fuck.
Oh yeah, super cold.
Yeah, that you like plug into like a propane cylinder, and the three of us just kind of sat out in the field and around the little thing with some of those folding lawn chairs, and kind of we didn't drink beer. We wanted to, but we didn't, and just kind of ate snacks and drank soda and chilled out.
That's so odd. Ken, where were you during Y2K?
I was at a party.
Yeah,
that's where I should have been.
Yeah.
I
had a goatee because it was still technically 1999. So
I was working on the air because I also did on air.
Yeah.
For Kiss 94.1. From going 98 into 99, I was actually working on the air and got to play Prince's 1999 when right at midnight. It was pretty cool.
That's so awesome.
That is cool.
Well, I was in sixth grade, and I remember being like a little bit freaked out, but also mostly just excited because it felt like a huge adventure. And we went to my grandparents' house because my grandparents live on like some land, and they have a well, and they had like a big propane tank. And we were like, we're pretty sure nothing's going to happen, but just in case, we're going to go to where it's like fairly off the grid. And I remember I got to sleep in like my favorite, my uncle's old camping sleeping bag that was like super hardcore with like, it keeps you warm in like below 30 degrees, which just felt also part of the adventure. And it was the first time I stayed up till 3 a.m. because we watched the New Year ring in all the way to the to the West Coast.
And that's the reason why I knew nothing was going to happen, was because earlier in the day, like if you're in like Fiji or New Zealand, like that's where you need to like be a little concerned, because you're the first one to do it.
You're the first to get it.
But like, there were some isolated things here and there.
Oh, but people thought
really
like planes were going to be falling out of the sky.
Oh, I remember people thought, like people were.
It was a legitimate problem. I don't know if you remember this, but that's the premise behind the movie Office Space. Yeah. Remember Office? That was because he was basically going through code and fixing Y2K bugs, which was a legit job.
Oh, that was a thing people did
for like 5 years.
For a long time.
God.
But it was very. It was also one of those things that was just trendy enough because we were, as a society, just getting computer reliant enough that it would have been a serious catastrophe. Not on the scale it is now, but close. And it kind of became just a popular thing to think about.
Yeah, it did.
So it's sort of one of those things where, like, yes, it was a concern, but the idea that it would actually happen became just something. It became almost like a thought experiment. Like, what would you do if all the computers suddenly stopped working? Which is now, now Michael Bay just directs that. But
I do remember I worked for, like I said, I had a number of jobs at the time. My main job with those, I was doing tech support for Time Warner Cable, their Roadrunner cable modem service. And this is the early days of cable modem. Like, it was still in beta. We were just coming out of beta. And I do remember like our scheduling system had some kind of problem. The first, but it didn't show up for like a month. It was weird. It was like it was like some weird thing happened, and it was like, oh, that's Y2K.
But if you guys, to our listeners, if anybody has a cool Y2K story or an interesting blurb about where you were on.
Which is
December
weird because
31st, 1999.
Most people think of like September 11th, 2001. Like, where were you? But it's kind of fun to think back. Oh, remember the year before?
Yeah,
it's kind of nice.
What was your contingency? If anybody listening to us is still in your bunker from 1999, you can come out. Everything. Well, no, actually,
you can do a whole Kimmy Schmidt.
You could have come out before, but at this point, you might as well stay down there for a little while longer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
come out in a little while. Don't come out quite yet.
Give us a little more time.
Yeah, if anybody in your Kimmy Schmidt bunker.
We purposely try to, especially nowadays, try to shy away from politics on this show, but I really kind of want to do one show where we bring in somebody that we know that is fairly conservative, like find them somewhere in Asheville. I'm sure they exist.
Nah.
And then just kind of like talk to them and be just like, so.
Well, my mom's in town.
Oh, yeah, I've heard.
I've heard there's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. So, so Brain Break So yeah, let us know what tweet at us or at FSS Podcast, tweet at us or let us know where you were on Y2K and what your story is. But Brain Break, Matt, what you been up to? I know what you've been up to. My Xbox tells me what you're up to.
I have been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto. It sucked me back in mostly because they've purposely been running specials where you get extra money and extra RP and stuff.
I'm glad you don't do hard drugs.
Yeah,
because the way you describe this, you're like, well, they sucked me back in because it's just too good a deal. They gave me one for free, and now I'm addicted again.
It is, but it's still a good way for me to come home and relax. The other thing I've been doing recently is I've been rewatching Battlestar Galactica, the 2004 Battlestar Galactica. I forgot how fucking good it was. And
what season are you in now?
I am in season 2. So they are, I don't want to, I guess it's okay. If you don't want Battlestar Galactica spoiled, then maybe don't.
He still's not seen it, but just tell where you are, but without spoilers.
I still's not.
They have not, Cobalt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
But not I think they stay there for an extended period of time under occupation. Is that Cobalt or is it Earth? I haven't gotten to that anyway. Where the Cylons are occupying
Okay, that's beginning of season 3.
Yeah. Okay. So I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's beginning of season 3.
Okay.
And the fleet is split right now.
Okay.
Just split.
So. I love that each season has such a
very different.
Very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that each season kind of explores a different aspect of the human brain and how it works under stress and how it works within a group under stress. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really fascinating because in the first season you have that everything is it's that urgent. Everybody has adrenaline.
Yeah.
You're doing the impossible.
Everything is about to fall apart at any second for the entire season.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's and you get to learn the characters really quickly, really well. And it's a really effective way to set up a series. And then in season 2, you get to look at, okay, now we're a little bit past that initial catastrophe. How do we actually maintain this as a society? Because you start to really see them, like you said, the fleet is divided. They're starting to deal with these more internal conflicts, interpersonal conflicts.
Definitely a mirror of the time it was written into.
Yes.
During the Bush administration, there was a lot of there's a lot of political things that are relevant today too that they tackle, that they mirror, they show.
Yeah.
And it's produced and written predominantly by Ronald D. Moore, who was responsible for almost all of Deep Space Nine and big chunks of Voyager and some of the Next Generation. So, it definitely has a lot of
true. Yeah.
It has a lot of Star Trek in it.
It really does.
I always say that Battlestar Galactica is the Trek series that we always should have had, that we really wanted.
So true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really true.
It is some of the best television. It's some of the best. Definitely, I would say. I would say it is the best sci-fi television show ever.
I think I would agree with that.
Definitely the most.
That's a serious.
Yeah, but I really would say that it is
above Doctor Who, above.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely above Doctor Who.
Above Star Trek, above all the Star Treks.
Yes.
Wow.
I would say that.
I would say so too.
Wow.
Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
It's that level.
Wow.
I mean, it's obviously very different.
Right.
But it's
very different because I enjoyed it, and Breaking Bad was not my cup of tea. But so you go into
you haven't seen Breaking Bad though.
No, I've seen enough to know it's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
So then season 2 is all about that interpersonal conflict, and then season 3 they become a unified force again because they have an outside aggressor.
Season 3, the weakest of the 4, I felt.
There were a couple of episodes. There were a couple of moments in season 3 that I think are my favorite in the whole series. There were some incredibly poignant things that they did with character development that I felt was really, really important for the characters.
It is definitely a character development season.
It is definitely. And then season 4 is always I've seen the whole series several times now, and season 4 is always the one. It's for me. It's like it's the most difficult season to get through because at this point you're literally just watching a whole group of people with PTSD try to continue to have a functioning society, and that as kind of a way to wrap up the
hold on for a second, Ken.
What?
You're over there basically making this exasperated, bored thing because you don't care about what we're talking about.
It's not that I don't care about it. I just haven't seen it.
I know, but now you know how I feel when you guys go on for 20 minutes about the latest Marvel movies. So.
Yeah, or when you guys talk about Tandy computers.
That's true. Yeah, the Tandy.
You don't care about the Marvel movies. Whereas I just haven't gotten around to seeing Battlestar Galactica yet. But now I know how everything happens. So.
No, you don't.
You have no fucking idea.
Okay.
No.
You have no idea.
No.
Well, and I know things don't go well if they all have PTSD by the third season.
Do you know how the series starts? Of course they have PTSD.
All right.
Like, that's not a thing.
The whole planet gets nuked, basically.
Okay.
The whole, like, solar system gets nuked. Yeah. Because there's 12 planets.
Yeah. And the thing, and it's neat going through this show, knowing what I know. Like, I know how it ends.
Yeah.
And I know because I remember when I was watching the first time, I'm like, so I know this is taking place in the same universe that we live in, but how is this all going to fit together? Like, and you don't know how it fits together until the last fucking episode. You're like, whoa. Anyway,
I also love really quickly. I also love picturing the exercise of picturing a very Western style society, where I think like for example, Firefly explored like a very Eastern culturally. Influenced society. This one really focuses on much more of a Western Romanesque society, but it's pantheon.
Greek, more Greek actually.
More Greek, well, but they're the major religion is they have a pantheon of gods, which is really interesting to see how those things intersect. Whereas we're so familiar with kind of the monotheism of Christianity and Islam and Judaism.
Yeah.
That was really fascinating for me as well.
Amazing show.
I know everybody turns out to have been a Cylon everyone's a Cylon the whole time. Everyone's been a Cylon the whole time. No,
that's not the
Everyone
case.
but like one person's been a Cylon the whole time.
That's also not
I
true.
do think that they went a little overboard on
They did go
everyone
a
but
little
like
overboard.
3 people was a Cylon the whole time.
That is a legit critique of the show.
Yes, agreed.
What about you, Carly?
Well, just quick question: is it like a Lost kind of thing where like they kind of painted themselves into a corner with storytelling and they needed to stay, they needed to keep people engaged through the end?
No.
Okay.
They knew where they were going the whole time, and it's very evident that they did.
Okay, cool.
I will say,
so everybody that was a Cylon the whole time, they knew was a Cylon from the beginning of the series.
I don't necessarily know that.
They did not know.
Yeah,
they did not know that.
Okay.
But I've had that confirmed by a couple of the actors that I've talked
but
with.
where they get to eventually, they knew they were going there the whole time.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that they got canceled, so they had to kind of advance the storyline a little bit quicker.
Oh,
to
really?
Get there.
Did they get canceled?
I think so. Maybe it was a very expensive television show.
It was. They were going on in the middle of the writers' strike, so I think it was season 2 that actually got split into.
I remember that. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I know that they had.
Tell when you rewatch it.
Yeah. So that was also going on around that time.
The final episode, you either there seem to be only 2 schools of thought and only 2 schools of thought. You either thought it was amazing, you loved it, or you didn't like it.
I'm actually in the middle.
Really?
Yeah, and I can't tell if it's because the series was so beloved to me that it ending really felt like losing friends.
The last 4 minutes of that show just still give me goosebumps.
I know, every time. Well, so the weird thing, my introduction to Battlestar Galactica was actually at Dragon Con. I went to a panel that had Edward James Olmos and Mary McDonnell and
Starbuck. Katie Sackhoff?
I don't think Katie Sackhoff was there, but Michael Trucker was on it.
Oh, the Chief Terrell.
Yeah, Chief Terrell.
He's amazing. He's great.
Oh my gosh, amazing! And
I know I have some friends who had a beer with him at Dragon Con. Like he just showed up at a bar that they were at.
So cool.
He was so cool with everybody.
And Richard Hatch.
Yeah.
And
who was very instrumental in getting that show made.
Yeah, like super instrumental. And they did like it.
And if you don't know, he's the original Apollo.
Yes,
From
and
the
then
original series.
became Tom Zarek, and it was one of the most, I think it was the most moving Dragon Con panel I've ever been to, and it was this really emotional. Like,
This is after it
This
ended?
is after it had ended. I hadn't seen it yet though, and Edward James Olmos did this like incredible. It was a wonderful discussion between the actors, and they kind of ended with how art and specifically television series now is kind of carrying this banner of very culturally relevant change, and how society and art are always intermingled when it comes to revolution and change.
That's that Star Trek DNA that's in that show.
Yes, and Edward James almost did this like call to like artists and people and humanity, and then like finished it with like chanting "So say we all," and we're all in the same room. Like it was
Edward
amazing.
James Olmos is fracking amazing.
He
in
is
that show.
fracking amazing.
He does an amazing job.
And I had never seen it, and that was my introduction, and I was like, I'm sold, and I loved it from the very first.
There's nobody in that show that I'm not floored by just the acting that they do
Yeah.
and the story.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to move along. What about you? What have you been up to?
Do we want to do a two-parter and pick up the brain break at the beginning of the next
We
episode?
can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Where are we at on time?
We're at 50 minutes.
Oh man,
Oh,
yeah,
let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we will spare you, or actually, we will tease you until next week.
Ooh, yes.
Wow,
Lester, our creepy Uncle Lester.
remind me of Akinar from Myst.
Yeah, or
I don't
like as I
understand
was
that
doing,
reference.
or as I was doing Lester from Grand Theft Auto. It's like, hello.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah,
That's also terrifying.
So next week we will talk about, or coming up short, but next week we'll
for
talk
us
about.
it's coming up short.
Yeah.
For you, it'll be next week.
We'll talk about my my brain break, Carly's brain break,
Yeah.
Ant-Man and the Wasp,
Yeah,
spoiler free review, and then
because I haven't seen it
because
yet.
Matt hasn't seen it yet.
And actually, this is one Marvel movie I really want
Yeah.
to see. I really loved the first Ant-Man. So.
that
and-
is so surprising to me. That is like the one Marvel movie that I was just like,
And-
this is
No, well,
bullshit.
it and Deadpool, they're nice. They're nice.
They do
upbeat.
good.
Yeah, and a couple of other things. So tune in next week, and we'll go through all that stuff.
Woohoo.
Till then, I'm Ken.
I'm Matt.
I'm Cartu.
Till then.
Bye.
Figures Sold Separately is a multiverse podcast produced by TurboFanProductions.com. Please remember to subscribe to the show and follow and talk with us on Facebook and Twitter. Our theme music is by I Fight Dragons. Hear more about them at ifightdragons.com. Figures Sold Separately is copyright 2018, all rights reserved.